Yeah, the jam, like the jam was on. I didn't know what was on or anything. It was too dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he take a shower in the sink or something that made her mad?
No. She was wearing my hoodie for some reason. I didn't know why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, did you do what you did it for?
No,
No.
no. I'm sad. Oh no, she tried to kill me after it happened, and I couldn't do anything. She was trying to push the crack in my face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he threaten to hurt any of the other kids?
No,
No.
no. And she was on top of his chest.
I killed that bear. I was going to do you.
Yeah. Mhm. And then when I heard about the pillowcase being pulled from the dryer, I was like, yep, she washed away the evidence. Yeah. It really happened.
All right.
I was already told that the truth comes out that somebody's going to be in a lot of trouble. I won't get much time. I'll get some, but I won't get much.
Who are the people that he threatened to kill you?
She didn't tell me. She didn't tell me at all. I was assuming it was one of her drug buddies or something like that.
I wish I knew who the hell they were.
And I told her when she left, I told her before she left.
Why didn't you tell me when you was out there looking for them? Why you could have, well, you could have got by yourself. That's what you made you take Alice with you so you wouldn't say nothing to me, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Damn. Oh, ain't that it?
Huh?
Ain't that it?
No. His house was sick the whole time it happened.
Alright.
And no one else saw it. But, when I heard that, when he got to he visited me at the jail, and he told me that when I was in the jail that a pillow, case, and a t-shirt was pulled from the dryer. I said, yeah, she washed away the evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got, but you know what, you might kill little Joe. You kill little Joe. There's one thing about it for sure. She took the baby's life away. But where he went, she'll never go there. I'm not the one to be judged about that, but you just can't kill your baby and go to heaven.
No. Especially a special needs child.
It don't matter. Special needs or not. You don't kill your baby.
I know. Just don't do it. Just don't. And they're not going to find him in the county either. They can give up on that.
Where do you think he took it?
Hickman County.
Whereabouts?
I don't know. That's the problem.
Who's have to do this? Do you know?
Nope.
Who do you think that?
Okay, Mr. Daniels, were you able to hear all that?
Yes, sir.
That phone call was July 1st of 2019, approximately 16 months after your son was charged with homicide. That was just yourself and the defendant on this phone call, right?
Yes, sir.
Were you coercing him to make those statements to you?
No, I was not.
He was making those statements freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And in those statements, he said that Baby Joe was kidnapped. Did he say that?
No, sir.
No, he did not. Did he say that Baby Joe was abducted by the next door neighbor, Mr. Ledford?
At the time, we didn't know nothing about
Did he
Mr.
say
Ledford.
in this phone call that Baby Joe was abducted by Mr. Ledford?
No, sir.
No. What did he say?
He was killed by Crystal
And where?
in the living room.
In the living room. So we know, correct me if I'm wrong, that your son admitted, and you were in the car, that Baby Joe was killed in that living room. Yes or no? Yes or no?
Do what now?
Baby Joe, according to the statements of your son, was killed in the living room of your house.
That baby wasn't killed in that house, sir.
No?
He wasn't killed in that house. I don't give a damn what statement said. That baby was not killed in that house.
Okay, did you hear your son on this phone call?
Yes, I heard him.
He said that Crystal killed Baby Joe in the house. Did he say that?
Yes.
Yes. And previously, 16 months before, you sat in a car with your son.
Yes, when he was
Agent
coerced
Cole-
to say what he had said.
Agent, let me finish the question.
He was
Mr.
coerced.
Mr. Daniels, you need to listen to me. You let him ask his question, and then you will be given an opportunity to answer. Let him finish
Okay.
the question before you begin answering.
Okay.
Mr. Daniels, in April of 2018, you sat in a vehicle with your son and Agent Brant Holt, correct?
Yes.
And while you were in that vehicle, your son admitted to you that he had beat and killed Baby Joe.
Yes, when TBI.
No, I'm just asking, yes or no? Did
It
he?
ain't a yes or no question.
Yes, it is, and then
No,
you
it's
can
not.
explain your answer. Did
No,
he
it's
say
not.
that? Did he say that in the car?
You don't let me do my
Judge,
question.
I'm asking you to instruct the witness to answer, and then he can explain, yes or
Mr.
no?
Daniels, you have to answer the question directly that you're asked, and then you'll be given an opportunity to explain your answer. But the question to you is, did your son make the statement to you in the car that he had killed the child? Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Would you like to add something?
Yes, I
Tom?
would.
Go ahead.
When he was coerced and forced to say and made him feel the way he did,
Okay,
y'all did it.
thank you. And the judge will make a ruling on that issue, whether he was coerced or not. But what we know is that on this phone call, you've already said he was not coerced. It was a free and voluntary statement, correct?
Yes.
So, two statements, both of which say Baby Joe was killed in your house in the living room, correct?
But he wasn't.
No. Two statements, both from your son, both acknowledging Baby Joe killed in your house in the living room. Yes or no?
Both statements were made,
Yes
but he was
or
not
no?
killed in my home.
Yes or no? Both statements were made. Yes or no? Please
You know-
answer.
You know what?
Yes or no?
He was not killed in that home.
Judge, I'm again
Mr.
asking you.
Daniels, again, I would remind you, the question to you is what the state had asked. You have to answer that question. If you then want to explain your answer by saying you disagree with it, I'll give you that opportunity, but first answer his question.
Okay. Yeah, there were statements that he was killed in the house, but there's no evidence that he was murdered.
Okay. At 3 minutes and 50 seconds into the phone call, did your son tell you, I'm not telling the whole story yet? Yes or no?
Well, nobody has.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Did he say at 4 minutes and 11 seconds, she threatened me with a knife? Yes or no?
Yes.
At 5 minutes and 7 seconds, did he say, your son, I pushed her off of him?
Yes.
Did he say it happened in the living room?
Yes.
Did he say she, meaning Crystal Daniels, was wearing my hoodie?
Yes.
Did she say it, or he said she did it with a pillow,
Yes.
put a pillow over his face?
Yes.
That she washed away all the evidence?
Yes.
That she threatened to kill me after it happened?
Well, she does that all the time.
But your
Yeah.
son said all that, right?
Yeah.
And Mr. Daniels, this was his recantation of his original confession, correct?
I guess.
Yeah. So in his recanting that we've heard so much about, he doesn't allege that Baby Joe was kidnapped. He doesn't allege that Baby Joe ran away. He doesn't allege that Baby Joe was hit by a car. He alleges that Baby Joe was killed in the living room of your house. Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes,
Thank you.
because
Pass the
y'all have
witness.
made him feel the way he feels.
Mr. Locker, any further questions?
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. You may step down, have a seat in the courtroom. Mr. Lockett, you may call your next witness.
Your Honor, that's defense proof.
I'm sorry, Mr. Crouch.
I was going to say the defense is rested, but I have a witness, but we can wait till after lunch.
All right, we'll go ahead and take our lunch recess until, let's lunch until 1:15 so that we can make sure we've got all our witnesses lined up. We'll be at lunch until 1:15.
All rise. Or does it reset?
Wow. That was pretty dramatic, wasn't it? I did not expect to go live, guys. I woke up. I was about to go to the gym. As a matter of fact, I've got some dogs to walk in just a minute. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to catch up everybody right now. I'm actually going to stay live. I guess I'll work out on my break at work, but I have to go to work a little bit later. But I actually have plenty of time before I do. So we're going to stream as much of this testimony as we possibly can. But what we were just listening to right there, what we were just watching live was Joe Clyde Daniels Sr. The victim, Joe Clyde Daniels, he's only 5, and he is Joe Clyde Daniels III. So the father is actually on trial right now for his murder because he had confessed to beating him to death. Now, on this prison phone call, very, very, very interesting. On this prison call that just took place between Joe Clyde Daniels Sr., Little Joe's grandfather, was a prison phone call with the defendant where, after confessing on this phone call, what he's doing now is he's saying that Crystal, Joe Clyde's mother, who's also on trial, Crystal actually smothered him to death in the living room and cleaned up all the evidence. Now, if anybody here, when I first started covering this case, talking about this case, if anybody here predicted that these two were going to throw each other under the bus, well, you guessed right, because that's what it's looking like is happening here. It's looking like he's throwing the blame on her. She's throwing the blame on him. So this right here, this defense right here for him, it basically kind of clears him or doesn't clear him, but it makes you kind of understand a little bit better why he wouldn't know where the body is. I believe he does know where the body is. I believe Crystal knows where the body is. I believe they both know where the body is. All right, I'm just waiting for that to load. Sorry about that, guys. I figured I'd not go ahead and knock out my my dog walking while I was waiting to reboot my router. So my internet sucks. Sorry about that. Let me try to refresh the Baby Joe trial here real quick, because they said they were going to take about a 15-minute recess for lunch. Let's see here. And when we were listening to that testimony, we were listening to little Joe Clyde's grandfather being very combative, but I couldn't tell if he was trying to protect his son, what exactly was happening. But hearing the phone call, sorry, I'm going to have this ready for. So hearing the phone call between Joe Clyde Jr. and Joe Clyde Sr., the prison phone call, he sounded, little Joe Clyde's dad, the defendant, he sounded very aloof, very strange. Like he didn't sound sad that his kid was dead. He didn't sound anything. And grandpa is on the phone saying, you just don't hurt your kids. You just don't do that. And he's agreeing with him. He's going, no, you just don't do that. You just don't do that. No. And so here we've got this guy that at one point confessed to the police that he beat little Joe Clyde to death with his fists. And while we're waiting for that, I wonder if I can find that somewhere. And they said they were going to recess until 1:15. So this should be coming up. Let's see if I can find this. All right. I'm going to go ahead and play this. Give me 1 second here. I mean, this is the best I can get. All I can get is news clips of it. But all right, this is his recanted confession, looks like.
Court hearing yet for Joseph Daniels.
This is
the man
in
accused in the death
September.
of his son, 5-year-old Joe Clyde Daniels. Joe Clyde's body has never been found. News Channel 5's Eric Hilt listened in on today's hearing where Joseph Daniels' now recanted confession about killing his son was played.
Joseph Daniels walked into this Dixon County courtroom in handcuffs as prosecutors prepared to show evidence they say proves Daniels killed his son. 5-year-old Joe Clyde Daniels was last seen in April of 2018, and TBI investigators say days later, Joseph Daniels confessed to killing Joe Clyde. a confession that was played in the courtroom today.
How many times you hit him in the head? Couple times. Couple times? A little more than a couple times. Yeah. How many times was it? Seven times.
In the video, Daniels says he hit Joe Clyde until the 5-year-old stopped crying.
He stopped crying. Yeah.
Prosecutors say Daniels then described putting Joe Clyde's body in the trunk of his car
So did you put him? You put him in the trunk?
and driving to a field.
Did you grab him anything? How did you blame him? Just cause of that.
Before breaking down into tears.
Oh, wow.
But Daniels' attorney argues other angles of the hours-long interrogation show that he was detained illegally and that the confession should be thrown out. We're expecting to get a look at those other angles in court tomorrow. Eric Hilt, News Channel 5.
Thanks, Eric. We have followed this story.
Dude. Yo. This dude crying like that and hollering and carrying on. That's a whole new level. Yeah, Lufa, this is the genius. Now, I mean, that's considering that, right? Considering that he tested at a near genius level. Remember I was talking about that? Remember I was talking saying, you know, this guy, he's going to play dumb, right? But he's not playing dumb. He's not playing dumb. He's playing chess because he's all over the place, right? He's all over the place. And he confesses to the police, and now he's recanting that confession because he's saying that he was held illegally, that he was detained illegally, right? Then we're gonna hear just today, because that was back in September. Just today, we're hearing the testimony following the court hearing a phone call between Joe Clyde Daniels Sr., the victim's grandfather, and the defendant, the victim's father, in a phone call together on the phone, in a prison phone call, where he is telling his father that it was Crystal, the wife, little Joe Clyde's mother, that killed him. And what he's saying is she smothered him on the living room floor. And remember that, sorry, my green screen sucks as well as my internet. So remember, we talked about, how he supposedly threatened. Her testimony is that, in her statement to law enforcement, Crystal's, is that she woke up. Right? She woke up, heard screaming. And then she woke up, went out to see what was going on, saw Joe Clyde with his fist balled up over little Joe Clyde Jr., over little baby Joe Clyde. And so Joe Clyde Jr. over baby Joe Clyde with his fist balled up and his lifeless body. He threatens to kill her if she says anything. She goes back to sleep. That's her story. Now, his story to his father on that recorded phone call, that prison phone call, his story to his father is that she smothered him in the living room. And then she told him, if you say anything, I'll kill you. Think about that. So, and his father is on the stand after this attorney, and I don't even know if he was for the prosecution or the defense. I think he was I think he was his defense attorney. He was aggressive, man. But he was really combative, and he just kept saying, "There's no way that little Joe Clyde got killed in that house. It didn't happen inside the house." Remember, we were tossing that around. We were all, when we were going over the initial details of this case, when we were going over that, we all pretty much came to the conclusion. I think I even had a type of 1, type of 2 type thing going on in the chat. And I don't think that he was killed in that house, because law enforcement didn't find any evidence. There was no blood spatter. Apparently, so, and we know this guy's full of shit. We know he's full of shit because we just saw video of this guy admitting to beating the child to death, which we know didn't happen because there is no blood spatter in the house. There's no DNA. This kid lived in that house and they have no DNA samples to sample any blood against, even. But there was no blood spatter in the house. They might have found a little in the car, but no blood spatter in the house. If you beat a child to death, you beat anybody to death, there's going to be blood. So why wasn't there any blood? So Grandpa is adamant. He's like, there's no way this child got killed in that house. The attorney's sitting there just being like, dude, it's a yes or no question. Yes or no question. Did you not hear him say that she smothered him with the pillow in the living room? He's like, yeah, I heard that, but there's no way that happened. It didn't happen like that. So this is already a very, very dramatic trial right now. And screw it, man. I'm just gonna stay on. If my internet dies out, I apologize. Just give me a little bit. Thank you for your patience, by the way. But yeah, my internet sucks. I don't know what's going on. We've talked to Xfinity. We've had them come out here. Yeah. Lufa, thank you for posting that. I appreciate it. But I'm going to keep streaming it, you know. I'm just waiting for them to come back from recess. Oh, but they're near Nashville. I think there's an hour difference between Nashville and here. Maybe. I don't know. So it might be a little bit. And I'll cover as much as I can, but I got to head to work at some point, you know. But in the meantime, I'll just kind of goof around with you guys in chat here. And there's like, yeah, man, there's people in here because, dude, I'm always on like the opposite time of day. Usually I'm on at this time of night, like 1:30 in the morning. And here it is 1:30 in the afternoon. Normally I'm already at the gym. But I said I was going to cover this trial, and I completely forgot that today was a court date. Save Robbie, dude. Save Robbie's too much, man. Yeah, Candace Peña Rice. Yes, I realized that. I realized that I threw people off by going live. But I'm sitting there and I'm hearing this dude's testimony. I'm like, I got to go live with this. This is crazy. Hearing that phone call changes everything that we've been thinking about this case. I mean, not really. We knew this shit was going to happen. This guy, I already tossed around the idea that this guy's just he's going to screw with everybody. Right? He's a lot smarter than he's letting on. And so he's just going to screw with everybody. He knows that there's no, he knows that they don't have anything. Like, remember we were wondering how this guy was, man. Remember we were wondering how this guy was, this defense attorney. He's a public defender, and he's going for the not guilty, saying you ain't got nothing. Right? And to me, that's just crazy. Because so far, it looks like he's right. Yeah, like right now, it just looks like he's probably right. And that's really scary, dude. Like, because you got to look at it from this side of the coin, too. Like, we're talking about a public defender who is adamant. He's completely and totally, he seems completely sure that he can get this guy off. I find that mind-blowing, dude. And I think that he's a cold-blooded son of a bitch. Hold on. There was other stuff that I saw, which I can't believe that I didn't cover this stuff when I was going over this before. This was really interesting right here. I found this, and it kind of weirded me out a little bit. So remember that initially, Joe Clyde Jr.'s story for beating Joe Clyde Daniels to death was that he snuck out of the house, right? That he would wander. And his teachers had a sleep study set up for little Joe Clyde Jr., for little Joe Clyde Daniels. This is fascinating to me. Hold on a second. Sorry, just setting this up. So this is a sleep study of Joe Clyde Daniels. This is just footage of him in bed, asleep, or trying to sleep, I should say.
Copy and is here with the first look in the 5 Alert update. Good morning, Nick.
Yeah, interesting. This is some of the first video and photos that I've seen showing the 5-year-old with his parents. Keep in mind, Joseph, the father, is charged with homicide and the death of his son, the mother with child neglect, but the boy's body has never been found. Now, let me explain what you are going to see right here. The video is from when Joe Clyde's parents took him for a sleep study. This was just a few weeks before he disappeared. Now, a sleep study is when doctors observe and take video to determine sleep patterns. This video was shot in the dark overnight in a sleep lab, and you'll notice Joe Clyde here is just rolling around on his father, and you'll also know.
Now remember, little Joe Clyde Daniels, he's autistic and nonverbal. Um, so, uh, and looking at this kind of corroborates his story. Joe Clyde Daniels Jr., Joe Clyde Jr. It kind of corroborates his story that this kid was just completely restless at night. And his teachers would say that he would nod off during class during the day. But what's going on here?
Notice he's wearing the same pajamas with a skeleton pattern that he was wearing when he disappeared. So why the study? I'm told Joe Clyde's teachers noticed he was always tired in class, sometimes falling asleep. The grandparents say that Joe Clyde was not a sound sleeper and that he would often wake up in the middle of the night and then sometimes even wander outside of the home. On more than one occasion, he'd be missing from his bed and they would find Joe Clyde out in the yard. Now, the sleep study was to determine if there was a better way to help the child sleep through the night. So how does this factor into the case? Well, the grandparents and Joseph, the father's attorney, have told me that Joe Clyde may have wandered out of the house the night he disappeared. And their theory is that he was possibly abducted. And it is very likely that the jury will see this video at trial for the defense. Amy?
Now, again, that's old from like September. So everything that they were saying regarding the case, that's not, that doesn't apply now, because as of today, like I said, we just heard the grandparent, as they mentioned, little Joe Clyde Daniels' grandfather testify. And he was played back a phone call between him and the defendant. And it was, it was very different than what we've been hearing. And here it was, as a lot of us suspected would take place, was that he was going to throw Crystal under the bus, blame her. So we've got three different stories here. Pretty much all three scenarios that one could predict, right? One, father did it, beat him to death. Two, kid wandered off, abductors picked up the kid, took off with him. Three, Crystal, the mom, killed him, smothered him in the living room. But see, I'm not buying any of those. Me personally, I'm not buying any of that. I'm thinking, I honestly don't know what the scenario is, but I'm definitely thinking the both of them were in on it. I mean, look at that. You look at that footage. You look at that footage of this kid. This is a dude trying to sleep. He's trying to make the best out of a situation, but he's got a kid that is nonstop focused on crawling all over him while they sleep. I mean, my guess is that this dude, there's no, for some reason, this is something that pacified this child in some way, shape, or form, having been autistic and nonverbal, and this is just something that just kept the kid entertained. Like, I mean, I don't know anything about autism, but I remember you watched the movie Rain Man. There's routine, right? Maybe, the same way that for Raymond and Rain Man, watching People's Court at just the right time, every time, with cheese balls, with toothpicks, having that routine all the time, maybe just crawling all over his dad all night long was his routine. And the dad couldn't sleep, and the dad just got sick of it. Who knows what was going on with Crystal, the mom, and what type of dynamic this child had with her. But I truly, honestly believe in my heart of hearts that the two of them premeditated, plotted, and murdered and disposed of this boy. That is honestly what I believe. I mean, that footage is kind of mind-blowing, man. Just watching this little boy just crawl all over his dad. His dad is just trying to ignore him, looking at his phone and just shaking around the bed, while this kid just crawls all over him. That I guarantee you that it just got to a point between that and whatever was happening with Crystal. They planned and got rid of this poor boy. Thank you, Amy Eck. Appreciate that. Safe Robbie, why don't you come on panel, man? I've covered everything about the case. We're all caught up. Right now, we're just killing time until this thing comes back on. Come on panel and shoot the shit with me. And Lufa is killing it tonight, modding, man. Thank you, Lufa. I appreciate it. Robbie and Snow White, man. That's so funny. You're meeting Alicia for lunch? Yeah, you should totally, like, both of you guys should come on panel while you guys are having lunch. Oh, shit. There he is.
Hey, Will.
Oh, what's up, man?
How are you?
I'm doing well, man.
Dude,
Yeah.
I'm heading to get my car cleaned because I'm too lazy to do it myself. I literally, if I filmed right now, do you have a weak stomach? You would throw up. I have cheese and crumbs and stuff like in my carpet of my car because I'm always eating on the go.
Yeah, I had a bag that I was putting pistachio shells in, and I had just cleaned my room, and I spilled like a pistachio shells, and I'm just too lazy to pick them up right now. I'll get them before I go to work. But,
It's like a bar with peanut shells on the floor.
well, not like all over the place, but just this one little pile where they spilled, you know, and I'm just like, I'll get them,
Yeah.
you know. They're pistachio shells. Like, they're not going to crush all over the place. You know what I mean? They're actually pretty sturdy. It's the question
Yeah, they're
of picking
not
them.
dirty. Like pistachio shells are clean.
Yeah. I mean, they better be. They're so expensive. They're good.
You want to know why I don't have big like bags of trash in my car? And this is terrible. You're probably going to kick me off your panel. I'm addicted to littering.
Oh my God, dude.
I don't know what it is. And listen, Will, it's a problem. Seriously,
Dude,
that
is messed up, man. Like, dude, I never, ever, like, yeah. I'm adamant about not littering. Like, I'm a smoker, and I will, if I'm smoking a cigarette outside, I will squeeze out the squeeze out the remaining tobacco and cherry, so that I don't light a garbage can on fire or make it smell. And I put the butt in a garbage can, in the nearest garbage can. Every time. You want to know
why I litter downtown? I litter downtown because there's a reason for it, kind of. Because I'll watch these homeless people and like they dig out of the trash cans and they eat full meals. So if I have like, you know, a full burrito from Taco Bell or something left over, I'll throw it out the window so they get it. Because they like
get the fuck out of my face with that bullshit excuse, dude. That is the lamest thing I've ever heard in my life. I litter to feed the homeless. Are you kidding me with that right now? I hope you're kidding. Yeah, you're kidding.
Saving the world one litter at a time. And one homeless person at a time.
That's so bad.
Hold on, I got to tell them what kind of car wash I have. Is Lisa still in the chat? Because I'm meeting her for lunch, but I'm getting my car washed real fast.
She was. I don't know what she's doing.
Alicia, I just pulled in, so I'll be there shortly. Did you know Alicia and I went to high school together?
I did not know that.
We did. We've known each other for like 24 years, 25, something like that. Long time.
Wow.
Yeah, she's good peeps. Ooh.
Yeah, she seems like it.
Hold on, I just found my new boyfriend. He's about to clean my car too. You guys wanna see him? Hold on, let me show you. How much time do you got? Hang on.
Let's see, dude. I'm on the trial to commence.
He's bending over right there, vacuuming that car in front of me. Hold on, he'll be out in a second. There he is. Hi.
What can I do for you today?
I just need a car wash and a vacuum.
Outside only for a vacuum and car wash, nothing else?
Yeah, that's it. Or air freshener or whatever.
Well, we do a vacuum and wash only. They don't do the windows or dust anything or anything. They just vacuum and do the outside.
That guy is way too butch for Robbie.
Okay.
Is that the one?
Sure.
Okay.
See, Robbie wants to be a top. That dude, that's not going to happen with that dude.
Okay, thanks. Well, Will, I don't know. I mean, if the stars align correctly, I mean, you never know.
There's no way. I mean,
Look, you're right. He's wearing boxers. Thank you.
That's good for them. This one you'll take inside to the left over here, and we'll do the rest for you.
Okay. Do you want me to leave it running, or?
That's fine. I'm gonna hop right in. This one's done here in front of you, so we'll move it forward. Right.
Sorry, guys. Ooh, I gotta mask up. Hold on, let's get a ah! Oh my god, I almost killed him. I left my car on drive. See, I get clumsy around hot men. Look at it. You see it? Hey there. Did you guys see it? It's good, right? So, Will, what is this case exactly? I wasn't really paying attention. I was trying to troll your chat.
so it's little Joe Clyde Daniels. Now it's confusing because the victim's name, he's a 5-year-old autistic nonverbal boy, murder victim, but they still don't have a body, but he is believed to be deceased. The father is on trial. Now the father's name is Joe Clyde Daniels as well. The grandfather's name is Joe Clyde Daniels. So it's a little confusing. Now the father confessed to murdering, to beating little Joe Clyde Daniels to death. But he's recanted that confession because there's no blood in the house. So his lawyer, who's a public defender, is actually fighting and putting in a non-guilty plea for him, and fighting his case, saying that there's no evidence. And now the trial's going on. We just heard testimony from little Joe Clyde's grandfather in a prison phone call with the defendant, Joe Clyde's father. The two of them were talking, and here he says that the mom did it, that she smothered him with a pillow in the living room.
Oh.
And both are saying that that one caught the other in the act, and then they got threatened by the other, saying, if you tell anybody, I'll kill you. So he's saying she said that to him, and she's saying he said that to her.
Oh, wow. That's like some serious contradicting bullshit right there.
Right. And the grandfather is real combative just now in court, saying, well, I don't care what you say. That boy was not killed in that house.
Oh.
Now, I believe that the boy was. I believe that it was plotted. I believe it was an effort, a planned effort between the mother and the father. Because he was just too much. He was too much. Like, I just showed footage of a sleep study that they did of little Joe Clyde Jr., of little Joe Clyde Daniels, and he's basically just crawling, just relentlessly crawling all over his dad throughout the night.
And wait, how old was he again? One more time?
5.
Holy shit.
5. Right. And I think that they just couldn't take it anymore. They just didn't have the patience to deal with a special needs child and planned and got rid of him. Now, the thing is this is in BF, Tennessee. You know, this is in a very rural area. And so when you look at this guy who's on trial, he looks like just a slack-jawed idiot, you know, but he's not. They did a test on him, an IQ test after he was picked up, and he tested near genius.
Wow.
So, and then we saw footage of him. We just watched a little earlier. We watched the footage of him confessing and then crying and being like, why, like really dramatic, when we know the confession was BS. You know,
I'm gonna have to look into that because that's crazy. If both of them,
it's a crazy case. Yeah, it's a crazy case, and nobody's talking about it.
Yeah, at first I thought you were watching the George Floyd trial, and then I was like, wait a minute, that's not the same one.
No.
Hey, hang on really fast, Will. I'm going to go pay really fast. Hang on 1 sec. I'm going to mute.
I mean, Steve, you're not wrong about that. You know, I can't, you know, that's my thing. My thing is I don't wish anything upon anybody. I really don't. What I wish for is justice to be served. That's what I want. But it's not up to me to decide what brand of justice these people get. It's not my place to say that. It's not yours either, in my opinion. But I do believe that things will happen the way they're supposed to happen. You know, and if they were put in general population and backwoods Tennessee justice takes place, so be it. I don't wish it to happen. You know, and if it turns out that they find Jesus and they start making coffee mugs like what's his face and do narrating and do, you know, books for the hearing impaired or for the visually impaired, sorry, you know, like Edmund Kemper does now, then so be it. You know, then that's okay with me.
Do you ever think, because I always try, I know it sounds crazy, but I always try to put, is that loud, the traffic in the background? It's that annoying.
I mean, it's okay, but I can hear you fine. As long as I can hear you, we're good.
Okay. Do you ever wonder, like, I try to put myself in the killer's perspective, and so in this case, like, they had a special needs kids that was crawling all around them in the middle of the night, you know, with a sleep study, whatever. Do you ever, like, babysit a kid, or you have a kid? But I don't. But I've babysat kids before, and I'm like, oh my God, they're driving me crazy. I'm like trying to imagine, like, even in those moments, I couldn't imagine wanting to, like, hurt or injure them or, you know, kill them.
Yeah.
If they were my own kid. It's insane to try to even put yourself in that mentality. Like, at least give them up for adoption or something. Shit.
I could never imagine, you know, I can't remember one time when my son was a child that I was ever genuinely angry with him.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember one time. Everything was, well, he's just a kid being a kid. You know what I mean? Like, your common sense dictates that. I just see Leisha in the chat here.
Yeah, Leisha, you missed it. I said I'm at the car wash right now, and I'm just waiting for the car, and I'll be on my way. She's like,
I love this. Our little intermission to this court hearing here is Robbie and Leisha's lunch date.
Yeah, we're going to the lake. We should have met at NK Park.
NK Park.
Yeah, the park where she was interviewed was literally right down the street from my house.
Yeah, dude.
I don't call it anything else but NK Park. I forget the real name.
That's so funny to me.
And you know what? The more you talk about her, I've looked at her and I'm like, she's really pretty. I think she's prettier than the actress that played her in the movie.
Dude, especially when she's protecting me from
Oh my God. Wow,
people that are trying to, yeah, especially when she is defending me and my honor.
I really liked that rendition you guys did of Grease. I think you put it on your Facebook.
That was us. That was when NK and I met and fell in love.
Yeah, but this look kind of fits her personality, except I don't think she's a killer. Just, you know, because she's kind of just like a badass.
Yeah.
But hey, it's going to get loud in a minute, so I'm going to let you go and drop off, but I'll be in your chat.
Right on.
Okay, love you, Will. Love you guys. See you soon, Lisa.
Love you too, bud. Thanks.
Okay, bye.
Save Robbie, everybody. Yeah, so we're still waiting on this. So let's explore crazy shit right now, okay? Might as well, right? Might as well. Type of 1, if you would support public executions when it came to the murder of children. Yeah, let's dig deep and get our hands dirty here, people. No, not public murder of children, Cherry K. Public execution to those who are caught for murdering children. Yeah, see, this is the common thing that I hear, right? I hear this a lot, like televised executions, pay-per-view, all cash goes to charity. It sounds reasonable, right? Sure. And look at all the ones. A lot of people are like, yeah, right on. But here's the thing. How many people out there want to be famous so bad? How many times have we had a school shooter or somebody who just did it because, or a mass shooter who did it because they thought it was going to get their name in magazines, get their face on the news, right? So think about it. If this is televised, how many people would actually hurt children just to get to that point to where they want to commit suicide by public execution? So in the grand scheme of things, would that be a good thing? We got to think about these sort of things, people. Got to think about these sort of things where, you know, right off the bat, in theory, sure. Okay, yeah, man, I'd love to see that person burn for what they did. We think about that. We say these things out loud. We say them to ourselves all the time. But I mean, at the end of the day, there is no end of the day because you don't know what that's going to unfold into. Like I said, how many people are we going to see that are actually going to sacrifice the life of a child just to get attention? How many have attempted suicide because they thought it would get them a lot of attention or threatened it? How many people would go as far as to committing suicide just to get put in some sort of place in history? Would it be worth it for our entertainment for that to happen? Now, I'm not saying that would happen. I'm just saying, isn't it fair to take that into consideration, that possibility? So that's why it's just, to me, it's logical. To me, it's just plain logical to just be like, you know, let things be what they be, man. We've got the justice system, we've got the courts, and yeah, no, that's happening right now with Letitia Stock, Steve. Well, you're talking about something. I misread this. You're talking about something different. But what's going on is a lot of these people who are accused, they go to trial knowing that they're going to get convicted, but it's just to torment the victims, the surviving victims more. The families of the victims. It's just to torment them. But see, I love that, Alice. I love that. You're saying I couldn't stomach any human being murdered. Yeah. I mean, but unfortunately it does happen. It happens all the time. And here we are talking about these cases. So, but what's the end game here? As true crime enthusiasts, right? What's the end game here? What are we looking to get out of this? Are we looking to just be entertained, which is okay? You know? I mean, but what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to make a difference? I mean, that's a nice thought, isn't it? It's a nice thought that YouTubers can come up here and cover these cases and bring awareness to these things when nobody else is talking about them. There's things happening now, man. There are things happening now. There's more attention being brought on these issues now because people are demanding for more attention on these issues. It's happening. Dude, let me look something up while we're waiting. Because we got all the time in the world right now. Let me look something up while we're waiting. So this is an interesting story. I was going to do a live about this, but there's really not that much to talk about, and I don't want to focus on it too much. But this headline right here. This isn't far from me. It says Oak Ridge undercover operation leads to child sex prostitution charges for 9 men. This just happened. Matter of fact, maybe I'll share the hold on. I'm gonna pause it. And sorry.
Reporter
Let me
Austin
start
Martin
it
is
over.
at the alert. Several men are behind bars after a human trafficking sting here in East Tennessee. WHE.com reporter Austin Martin is at the alert desk. Austin, we're talking about 9 people here.
Yeah, Lori, those men were arrested after a 2-day sting in Oak Ridge. According to the TBI, on March 24th, several agents started the operation by placing several decoy advertisements on websites known to be linked to prostitution. The focus of the operation was to identify individuals trying to engage in commercial sex acts with minors. Those men are from Knoxville, Maryville, Oak Ridge, and surrounding areas. The men face a slew of charges ranging from battery. Most of the suspects were sent to the Anderson County Jail, where they still are tonight. At the alert desk, Austin Martin, WATE.com.
Now, did you see all those dudes there? So now that's good news, because the thing is whether we like it or not, this thing is going on everywhere, right? But nobody was talking about it before. And now that everybody's talking about it more, the law's doing more about it, which is fantastic. It's amazing. 9 dudes off the streets. Now, a fun fact about this case. You saw all those dudes? Saw their mugshots? One of those guys, I'm not going to say which one of those guys is a member of the club where I work at. And just the other day, just maybe a week or so ago, this guy had a complaint from one of my coworkers that he came behind the counter where I work, came behind the counter, grabbed her, and just very inappropriately just grabbed her and hugged her, like from behind. And she was like, whoa, what the hell? And I mean, he's not supposed to be behind the desk, man, but it was super, super duper inappropriate. So she complained about it. And then they put a note in his membership profile. And then when someone asked, this is how I heard about this case. When someone asked what happened to that guy, whatever happened to the guy that did that, did they suspend his membership? Did they boot him? What happened? Turns out they didn't have to, because now he's in jail for trafficking. Now, I wasn't there. I'd only heard about it. But yeah. So it just turns out, it's a completely different shift than I work. So, but yeah, as it turns out, this guy was one of these guys. So at least he's in jail, at least he's locked up. But how bold. And I do know this girl. I mean, she's just an 18-year-old kid. Sweet, nice, pleasant. friendly, but not in a misleading manner. She's just friendly kid. So when she says that she got freaked out, I believe her. I absolutely believe her. And then it turns out that this dude is one of those guys. And I know this for a fact because when they were telling me about this dude, but we have pictures of everybody for their profiles when they scan in. We see everybody. Right? So I saw the mugshot and I saw the dude's profile picture taken at my job. That's him. And I saw the note. Yeah. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine experiencing that happening, right? Can you imagine experiencing that happening and then later finding out that he got arrested for actually being an offender? Like that's enough to scare the hell out of you even more. I mean, you know he's caught, he's put away, but still, like this person put their hands on you. And not even a week later, they're in jail for being an offender. And it's crazy how often, you know, these things happen. Yeah, that's crazy. Like that's never okay to touch somebody. That's never okay to just do that. I mean, that's the thing is it's for some people that's not their first instinct, Christy Flanagan, you know, which is kind of crazy. You know, and I get it. Like I know this girl. I could tell that she's more the type to be like, whoa, what are you doing? You know, and not know what to make of it, to not know what to do at that very moment when it's happening, because it's just so uncalled for that it's not an easy thing to process. And her first instinct isn't going to be to just haul off and hit somebody, you know. For a lot of people, it is for sure. So it's just, you know, when I think about it happening, and I really think about it, when I try to picture the scenario in my head, I can only think of how uncomfortable that must have been for her. All right, so this is around the time that I'm thinking that they should be coming back from lunch. I mean, an hour lunch is pretty straight, right? You know? Let's get down to it. And they seem to be wanting to move this along, too. That's what I like about this trial. They seem to be wanting to move things along. All right, I'm going to let you guys hang out. I'll be right back. Yeah, man. This is like taking forever. Yo, I don't understand that shit. Like, I'm looking at your comments in here, and like, I don't understand when dudes think that they could just do that. Like, it makes no sense to me at all. I mean, yeah, dude. Anything you do sexually that's without consent is fucking assault, dude. You can't do that. Yeah, like, dude, blow my mind with that. But I mean, it's besides the point. Like, the reason why I brought that up, it was point out that this dude is like an actual trafficker, you know? I mean, but how? That's what blows my mind. This guy was actually doing this for money. This was his source of income, right? So how are you going to be so careless as to, like, at the gym you work out at, go and basically assault one of the employees, one of the staff? That makes no sense. That's just compulsive. That's the only reason that I can think of why he would do something like that. If you're involved in some serious illegal activity that can get you put away, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, smart drug dealers don't go around doing stuff like that. They don't want heat on them. You know what I mean? So, like, this guy, if he's a trafficker, he's involved in a ring with like 8 other dudes, right? And he's involved in this ring. How could he be so sloppy? And my only guess is it's a compulsion. I just can't imagine. I can't imagine feeling so overwhelmed with the need to just roll up on somebody and grab them. What the what? That's mind blowing to me, dude. Yeah, I wonder, Cherry K. I wonder. I mean, yeah, they think they have protection, but at the same time, I feel like it's also like a sense of entitlement. Well, that's because it is. It is serious sexual assault. That's enough to traumatize somebody, dude. I'm sorry. That's definitely enough to traumatize somebody. Even if they didn't grab any private parts or anything of that nature, but just rolled up on somebody and grabs them, and you don't know who the hell they are. You don't know what their intentions are. You don't know anything. That's just that overwhelming feeling of both helplessness and fear is enough to traumatize someone. Okay, now we're talking. Now we're having a conversation. So Canine Rescue says, on the flip side, though, the feminist movement has taken sexual harassment over the top, and now you can barely speak to someone at work without fear of getting reported. I feel sorry for men nowadays. That's also true, because now it's a question of what, what's to make someone uncomfortable and what doesn't. And I mean, the thing is every job I've ever worked at, not every job, but almost every job that I've ever worked at, the women talk nastier than the men do. Like, there's times where I'll overhear conversations and hear women say certain things at my job that I will blush. I'll be like, wow. Wow. Like in the workplace, really? But you know what I mean? But never does it make me feel like uncomfortable unless now that does happen. I mean, it's happened here. It's happened where people send me relentless emails that are really graphic, and then I'm just kind of like, man, I don't even know who the fuck that is, and that is super graphic, and they come off a little too much, and it's yeah. But I mean, it's not like I want to bring charges on them or anything. Like, it's not like they're, you know, throwing bricks through my house window or something like that. You know what I mean? They're not doing anything like that. But it's a question. I just block them and then that's it. You know? But I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, it's not fair. It's not for someone to say what makes someone uncomfortable and what doesn't necessarily. Uh, unless you can judge their behavior for the most part, I think that should say something, you know, like, I mean, you're not going to sit here and tell me if I hear a woman sit here and she's having all kinds of conversations that are inappropriate in the workplace, and then all of a sudden complains because she overheard a man say something that was just as inappropriate as what she says, and then goes and complains about it. Well, then you got yourself a problematic person. You have yourself a toxic person in the workplace is what you've got. Has nothing to do with being a man or a woman, but it does have to do with a woman using being a woman as some sort of toxic method to contaminate her environment. And it's not because she's a woman who does this. Now, men do this all the time. Men abuse their power all the time, too. We're also talking about guys like Weinstein. This is a man who was in power. He was a very powerful man and used his power to take advantage of people and to intimidate people into doing things that he wanted. And many times those were sexual things. That's not okay at all. But when you've got yeah, I just don't think it's fair when someone, as long as they're not hypocritical, you know. I mean, yeah, you're not gonna you're not gonna sit there and talk about really graphic personal hygiene things and personal hygiene things that take place post coitus, you know, and then in the next breath complain that you hear a guy talk the same way because it's uncomfortable coming from a guy. Come on. That's, you know, it's not. All right, guys, looks like we're back. Let me make sure there's sound.
Flee the jurisdiction. In regard to the strength of the evidence, my client confessed on Joe Clyde Daniels in his living room, beating him with his fist. Evidence that there was blood on the victim, that he carried the body to the trunk of his car, took the body to a field off McElhaney Road, carried her while using his wife's cell phone as a flashlight. The TBIs testified that there is no blood evidence from the victim in the house anywhere, not on the coffee table, not on the carpet surrounding the coffee table. And I would us, and the confession was he killed the child at the house. Bleeding would have taken place at the time of the injuries. So if blood was seen later, that would be blood from the time of the injury, the child being deceased and continuing to bleed. No physical evidence. The TBI admitted that the victim is either dead, the alleged victim. No physical evidence that he killed the child in the house, carried the body to the car, took the body and disposed of it, and then got back home a little before midnight. In fact, the search warrant that Your Honor issued based on the affidavit, the TBI said in that, quote, "It is believed that no vehicle left the residence or driveway of 1112 Garners Creek Road, Dixon, the Daniels residence." So that shows clearly that when he confessed to beating the child to death in the house, taking the body off, getting rid of it, and then coming back to the house, that that's not true. What he said in that confession is clearly not true. In addition to that, we have a witness who saw a person over 1,500 feet down the road wearing something that appeared like a skeleton on the shirt that was either white or glowed in a luminescent green color on the bones. That is consistent with the description of what the victim was wearing. Mr. McCormick was emphatic that it was not an adult. It was not my client, Joseph Daniels, certainly not a person that weighed 282 pounds. The proof has been that the TBI relied on that description as being the description.
I'm sorry about the buffering, guys. Let me refresh. So this is going just the way that we thought it was going to go so far. This is the way they're going. He's saying there's no evidence. That basically the confession that they had earlier that he recanted, it just isn't true. Okay, I think they're finishing up here. Okay, I think that's it. All right. So that's it. This is basically him presenting his case and saying that it just didn't happen the way that he said it happened. And so they're just plain out saying not guilty because you ain't got shit. That's crazy to me. I mean, it's not so crazy because it's crazy because I can't imagine what happened. Except for it just didn't take place at the time or place that they said it did. Is he that smart? Is Joe Clyde Daniels Jr., is he that smart to basically just play games? To basically say, well, nothing happened the way that I said it did. You had a confession, but that confession doesn't even make sense. So now this dude has, all they have to do is present doubt to the jury. That's not going to be difficult to do considering what we know so far. It's not going to be difficult to do at all. But I'd love to know what the prosecution has. We still don't know as far as what evidence the prosecution has yet. So I believe I read that June 1st is the beginning of the actual trial. Yeah, we'll see what happens there. We're also going to keep on top of the James Hutchinson case and obviously Letitia Stock's trial that should be starting soon as well. So guys, I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna get a little cardio in at the gym before while I still can. I love you guys, and we will do this again very soon, my friends.